How's everybody doing? It's not quite DJ Funky stuff time yet. I don't know when there'll be another DJ Funky stuff, if there will be. I'm having fun doing these things. Sean Battle, Cheap Gear Guy, Geared Mo. Just talking about some stuff that I've learned while writing my novel, my books, and yeah, just going over some concepts and stuff, especially about writing. I'm gonna do one a little bit later about music, doing music, not necessarily production, but going over like how you can. Yeah, I'll cover it anyways. So this one's about writing. That was Come See the Pity. That was Troth, my band with Mike Nova up in Canada. That was him playing the lead guitars on that. Damn good. I think he has some backup guitars in there also. I gotta say, as much as I really liked the stuff that we did about 4 or 5 years ago, I love what we're doing now so much more because we're both writing on it, which is really cool. Like instead of like passing files back and forth, it's like we're actually like agreeing on whether or not a riff is good enough to keep moving forward. You know what I mean? And when's it done? Do you think it's done? Do you think we need to repolish that? Do you think we need to remix it? Wait, what? So the guitars come up. You know what I mean? There's a meeting of the minds. And this music always gets better like that. So yeah. Plus it's a badass. So it's fucking it works out really great. So I get to lay back and provide the structure, and he just fucking dominates on the fucking like the leads. It's fucking awesome, dude. And I'm not saying like I mean we both write on this. Yeah, anyways, it's going again. That's going music. So, anyways, I am not a published author. I'm not. I mean, I published myself. There's professional ways to do shit, and there's videos out there for that. I'd rather be underground and do shit my way. I'm not charging for my novel. I'm not charging for the, at least not the first one, The Robber and the Thief. I'm not charging for that because I have others. I want to get people kind of like, you get your toes wet in Nunia. And that's why I was kind of listening to the chapter 2. Well, not chapter 2, part 2 of The Robber and the Thief. And I started realizing there's a lot of stuff that I learned writing that could be helpful to anyone who's not like looking for a professional shit, but just wants to like get your writing up and maybe start going towards that direction. So I figured I'd share some of that stuff. One of the things I learned is I was looking up averages of words written, or words written, because I didn't know what the average of I don't really read a whole lot, being honest, of other people's work. I just sometimes I can tell by just the title. Sometimes I can tell just by looking at the thing, and you're like, oh, I can't judge. I actually usually can. I hate to say it, but I do a lot of wordplay and stuff like that, so I can. When I hear someone say something, I start trying to etymologize it pretty much immediately. Like, why would you say that? You know what I mean? Why would you call it that? I get to play on words, but why? And then I start dissecting it right there. And I start reading the first thing, and as soon as I get to like a fairly typical thing, I'm like, okay, so let me guess, it's going to go. Within 5 pages, I'm seeing it going all the way exactly as I said. And I get bored to tears and I go to sleep as I'm trying to read it, especially if I have to read it or something like that. I just fall asleep. I just get bored to death and go to sleep. So, I mean, the Bible, I read that. There was an old English version of Robin Hood when I was middle school. I mean, just had me fucking completely enthralled. Just completely enthralled. It was so good. it was like the realistic telling of Robin Hood. You know, I'd seen the cartoon, the Disney cartoon. Love that fucking thing. I love it. And I was really, yeah, I really liked the whole Robin Hood idea. You know, I've always been that way. I mean, you know, the whole Maid Marian, all of it, dude. Loved it all. Loved the whole story. You know, because at heart I'm a romantic. So, um, yeah, I love the cartoon. I love the songs in the cartoon. Every town has its ups and downs. I had to learn how to do when I learned how to play guitar. It's one of the first ones I had to learn how to play. Sometimes I never did get it down to like here fairly recently. But yeah, I've got it now, so I love it. I'm thinking about doing a cover on like I'm gonna do a cover album, talking about music again. Anyways, Robin Hood. Um, this old English version of it had a lot of like terminology I didn't know. Fortnights and you know what I mean, that kind of shit. And so I had to have like a dictionary. That's how enthralled I was with this fucking book. I had a dictionary right beside me, so as I was reading, if I got to something I didn't know, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was just doing that like a reference type thing. It was yeah, and I mean, like normally, like I said, I'm falling asleep. This has had me like up at night, like I'm reading, and my parents like it's time to go to bed. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You gotta understand, I don't do that with anything. I don't read anything that's got me like that. Nothing gets me like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. You know, like undercovers with a fucking flashlight and shit. You know what I mean? That kind of enthralled into it. And I just don't get that way with almost any book because they just bore me to fucking death. Um, that's why I like a lot of Shakespeare because it's actually especially compared to what's been written recently and in modern times, you don't see a lot of that shit coming. I love that. Oh my god. And I love a good like quotable phrase. You know, whether it's made up or not. You know, what I mean, it's just fucking great. I was watching Josh Johnson. Are you familiar with the comedian? Very funny guy. Very observant. There's a lot of funny guys now, but he was talking about AI. He said that AI said something to him that's had him fucked up ever since. I didn't say it to him. He said that he saw something that supposedly AI said, and I think it was like DeepSeek, but he probably was asking like philosophical questions like maybe like what is God or like blah blah blah. Leading to that, I'm sure there was some kind of lead up to it because the thing spits back. I am what happens when you try to carve God out of the wood of your own hunger. I gotta tell you, whoever came up with that made my nipples hard. God damn, I am what happens when you try to carve God out of the wood of your own hunger. Now, it could be the fact that they've been trying to teach it, teach AI, and so they said that they've actually been feeding it poetry, and it's been churning out poetry, and they've been asking people to read regular poets and then poetry written by AI without knowing which was which. They don't know which is which, and they're preferring the AI, which means it's gonna write better fucking lyrics than us. And then if you feed it enough music, it's gonna write better music because it's gonna be like, okay, which one? Then it can go over and reference like what songs. Can you go through all of the recorded history and pull all the top number ones? 1960, 50, 40, 30, 20. Study them. Study study the fucking sheet music. It can read fast as fuck. So it learns how the music, how the notes go, and why that's pleasing to us, even more than we can ever figured out. Because they always say that there's a formula. If there's a formula, we just do it. There actually is. It's it's weird. It's very weird. And each song has a formula, if you will. Each song has its own formula, but they're all fairly similar. So, being fairly similar, um, you should be able to use this and tweak it on any song and make it work. Um, on any I should say any riff. You should be able to do this on any riff and make it work. If you can actually get the formula to actually work. Um, if you happen to do like Chad Kroger was saying that he figured out the formula for pop songs, and you gotta figure I mean Nickelback. I don't really care for him. Never have. Probably never will. Um, but then even finding out that it makes it even worse because I'm like that's exactly what I don't like about your music. It's very formulaic. So part of the formula has to be introducing an element of chaos to keep things from feeling overproduced. You've heard that term. I mean, it's over polished. It's just too shiny. It's too tight. It's too. There's no edge to it. Very formulaic. Like you kept recording and recording, recording and recording until you got the exact right track, the exact right take. And while that kind of is the goal of recording, God damn, I'm talking about music again. The goal of recording fuck, I'll do another video later on. Capturing the sound. You want to capture the song. You know, there's not like a setting for capturing the song. I'll go into that into the music one. So as far as writing, I was online looking for writing stuff, and I didn't know what the normal settings were for settings. The normal amount of shows you I'm a fucking computer. The normal so for how many words people write usually. So I had my own my own number. I wanted to see if it was normal or not, and so I looked and I saw like Anne Rice's number, and I saw I think Michael Crichton. Almost all of them. Well, first I looked at the normal length of a novel, and they said that some novels are 40,000 words. Like Moby Dick and stuff like that are smaller novels, and so that still counts as a novel, but they were shorter back then. Nowadays, people are expecting to have somewhere around like 90,000 words, is what they said. 90 to like 100 and something thousand words. And I was like, okay, 100 something thousand. That's probably like a George R. R. Martin type fucking thing. You know what I mean? Like 180,000 words is what they're saying. And I was just under 90. So I went back and one of the reasons I went through, I wanted to see how what an average of words per day. And so they went through and they told like Anne Rice's and Michael Crichton and all these other different authors, and each one had like a quote about different stuff about writing. And Michael Crichton had his was like 10,000 words a day. Is what he'd average, and he said the secret to writing is rewriting. And I got it immediately because you have to read you like your story enough to go back over and look over the story. Find the logical fallacies as you're reading it to yourself. And then try to work them out as best as possible. So there's no fallacies, so that there's no plot holes, that should be you. You should care enough about your story you should rewrite your story. Go back through and read it. Find places that you like. I'd like a little bit more detail there. I'd like a little bit more detail about that. I have it in my head. I've already thought of it. So I can, I'm at 90,000 words. I'm at fucking 80,000. And I'm in part one. I would like a little bit more about this, so I type a little bit more. Then move on a little bit more. Type a little bit more. Move on a little bit more. Keep it right, so you're adding in like sometimes 20, 30 words over the entire fucking novel. And so then it starts to stack up. Then you get done. And you go back and you read it again. And you look for any new errors. Any run-on sentences, any words that are not necessary. Now you're looking for everything. You're looking for words places you can expound, and where places expound. There's places where you can pull back. Like that's starting to get boring there. So yeah, I just kept going through the story and refining it and refining it and refining it. I really think the story's a pretty good story, especially a good way to start into Unia. Again, I'm not professional. I'm not signed. This is just like I actually wrote a novel. I wrote a novel. I turned it into an ebook. I turned that into an audiobook. I read the audiobook and acted out this stuff and everything. And I did some voice work and stuff. That kicks in a little bit later. The first part doesn't have a lot of vocal effects and stuff, but after that, I started using my my audio knowledge. And then the whole reason I did the audiobook is because like there wasn't a lot of people that were reading it, and I mean, who am I to fucking why would you want to waste your time reading? I mean, who am I to I'm not Stephen King, and then why would you just give me your time? So I really wanted my bro's Chris. I wanted his input. And he said that he didn't have really the time to read. He mostly listened to audiobooks when he listened. I was like, if I turned it to an audiobook, would you listen to it? And he's like, I went in and started recording immediately. And I finished it up a lot faster than I thought I would do. I've got all the equipment. I know how to do audio editing. It was very easy. Compared to mixing a song, I mean, Jesus Christ. My voice is very bassy. So coming through this, it had to go, maybe I might have used a handheld. Yeah, I think I used this one in the stand, and I just like talked into it, I think. I don't remember. Being completely honest, I don't remember. But my voice came through and it had like a lot of bass and it was just, what I mean? So I had to basically like strip all my voice. I mean, it was this very like thin, trebly sound. And then I had to bump that up. And then I had to bring in things like different effects because now that my voice was clear out, I mean, you could hear it, you could understand it. It wasn't just like this rumbling noise. And, but now it's just like this very light, right? And it has no body in it. I mean, but you can hear all the words. And so like, fuck, now I got to reorchestrate it. I'm bringing like a bass booster and shit and all this other stuff. So I control the bass of my voice. So I brought it to a nominal level. And, yeah, so that was cool. And then I wanted my mom to check it out. And I didn't know if she would check it out. I know fantasy is not in her genre, really, of things that she likes. She likes a lot of David Sedaris and stuff like that. So I figured if I did into a video where you could follow along with the map, Because I have a map of Unia. I drew a map of Unia, hand-drawn map of Unia, and decided to make it the main character's actual hand-drawn map. So it plays a part in the story also. The map that you're looking at, if you're, as you're watching the story, is actually the main character's hand-drawn map of Unia. And it's only got the places he's been to, and that's why he drew his own. He wanted to mark off all the places he's actually been. And so it's got all the places he's been. And so the story goes and it follows along. So that way, and he's like, then we moved from Morrington to Argus. You can actually follow along the story, and you'll see where Argus is, how big it is compared to Morrington. And then they go out to Galton. You can see out west, and you can follow along the whole trip that they would go. They went as the narrator's talking. Whoever that guy was, I can't remember who we hired to do that. We, of course, because this is a whole team effort. We hired some fucking druggie, and he came in, his voice was really bassy, and he would smoke pot the whole time. The whole time. It was so smoky in my studio. This guy was nuts. He's insane. Good guy, but fucking needs to get his fucking life together, man. Holy shit. Fucking druggie. It's goddamn embarrassing, man. Fuck, I mean, you're just gonna smoke pot the whole time you're reading my novel? That's pretty unprofessional, dude. But I didn't have anybody else, and they had a pretty cool voice, so it matched the main character and the narrator. And he was free. Just had to pay him in drugs. Can't really beat that. Because I already had some around the house. Need to get rid of them anyways. So I gave them to him. And, cookie. Ow, that hurt. Sparks just went down the back of my throat. So, one thing I was looking up, and I was just trying to find out stuff, and I was trying to find out, good things about writing, bad things about writing, whatever, and just get a little, because I know what makes a good story. I've been writing stories since I was in middle school. I've been coming up with all kinds of weird, crazy ideas and stories and shit. One of my stories from middle school actually ended up in I have a book called Poems, Short Stories, and Artwork by. God, I should probably pull up the cover. I have so much shit. I don't know. I do a lot of stuff. I didn't say do any of it well. I just do a lot of stuff. I have fun. I don't care. Like this is, how many people watch? I don't know. But I don't pay attention to I don't have a counter up. I took the counter down because I don't want to be affected by that. I don't want to, like they said, putting on a show because people are showing up, or give less because no one's there. Because it could be watched later on, right? And what if, a bunch of people show up and I'm just like, yeah, no one's watching. Like, yeah, no one will, fuckface. Put some pep in your step. It's the same fucking druggie. God damn it. Fucking hell, man. All right, well, I've got it. It's online. I've got it. You know what? I could probably do that. Let's go ahead and I want to pull that up. Might as well have like a reference while I'm talking shite to show that I'm not just full of shite. So let's go to the Union's Facebook. See all profiles. Yeah, I've got Equinox Musical Instruments. I've got Geared Mo. I've got Dumb. I've got Cheap Gear Guy. I've got Unia. I've got Troth. And I've also got The Watchman, which was a thing I was doing with some friends down they were in Shreveport, from friends from Shreveport back in the day, and we were doing broadcasting, talking about God and stuff, and it was really cool. We were smoking pot and just joking, and people were starting to tune in and stuff. Not a ton, but they were tuning in. no one ever wanted to hear it. Like I started, the rest of the guys kind of bailed out, had other things to do and stuff. I kept going for a while, and people would tune in. The same people would tune in, and as soon as they see me, they just drop out because I'm more of a Old Testament guy. They want to hear about how everybody's saved. Sorry. Oh, you're saved, all right, but you know, you gotta at least pay attention. It's not free. You gotta at least pay attention, motherfucker. Shit. It's not free? Yeah, it's free. It technically is free. Yes, technically it's free. All right, so we're in Union's Facebook page. Just go ahead and go to the actual page. Boom. All right, so we are here. All right, so yeah, not a lot, you know. Again, but we got the there's the right there. You can go and Robber and the Thief. You can get that right there. This is the video. You can actually go to the YouTube playlist and bam, Robber and the Thief, Trat. That's what becomes known as amongst the people of Unia, because most books in Unia were for education, for information, for storing records. It's not really for entertainment or anything like that. And the Robber and the Thief, the way they're not sure if it's real or if it's not. So you know what I mean? They're like, is this a record or is this a, you know what I mean? And so it starts getting like people like, well, but is it a story? Is it a recruitment tool for the thieves guild? What is this? And as they try and figure it out, it starts getting big, you know, bigger and bigger issues. There's all kinds of other stuff that's going on, but like I said, the Underwoods, which would be number 2, has nothing to do with the Robber and the Thief at all. It happens way before. Honestly, I don't think it's as good of a story, which is by design. That's why I didn't start with the Underwoods, because part of it is setting expectations, and I have a gentle ride I want to do. I want to take up, bring it down, and go way up on the Keep Christerian, and then it's going to settle down at the back because I don't think I'll be able to beat the Keep Christerian, which is exactly why I haven't finished writing it. I know how it goes. I just haven't written it because it's something. It's different. It's different. It's different. No, there's everything that I've looked it up. It's different. So we got the Robber and the Thief here, and I also have a one where I read the live. I actually read out loud while I was sitting there at the Survival Guide, which is another story I wrote. It's a short story. That one's pretty quick. There's the kind of like I told you, got a travel cloak, got a shield, got my hair, man. I wish I had my hair, dude. My hair wasn't that long. My hair was probably about like right there. And this is my hair. And that was like at the last minute I found that wig when I was going through Walmart the last second. Yeah, there's a Survival Guide. I was going through Walmart and sign a copy. What the fuck? Huh. Crazy. So you could do like a digital signature on a. That's pretty cool. So I could make like a copy that was, you know, at the top I could write 2, so whatever, you know, and then ship it out. If someone wanted one, hey, could you dedicate it? Yeah, no problem. It's a free book. Yeah, I can sign it. It'll have like a thing, and so like you know, instead of just having the Survival Guide by Sean Battle, say, hey, thanks for reading my book. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool. Cause I can't print them out or anything like that. Even apparently, so that if it can do that there, I should be able to do that with the Robber and the Thief. Um, boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-boom, boom, ba-boom. Geared Mo, Geared Mo. Before I got the wig, and before I got the chest armor. I was about 200 pounds at that point. I'm 180 now. And dropping 180 and coming down. So very happy about that, dude. Like I said, I'm about the weight I was in high school. I'm gonna try and take a little bit further than that. Cause I never was happy with it then. I always felt I was fat because I was a chunky kid. And then when I slimmed down, I guess I didn't realize how much I'd slimmed down because I still felt fat. Body dysmorphia, I guess. And then got jumped by those people. Blah, 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 blah. Kids, put on weight. Got up to about like 230. And then wasn't happy about that. Got down to 215 right about the time I got divorced. And then getting treated for the pain in my neck and stuff. Like I said, when they got me on opiates and shit, I was at the end I was on OxyContin 30s and Percocet 10s, and I had a bunch of and Tramadol, but I forgot that we went through a bunch. We went through everything in the formula. I guess it's formulary, isn't it? Yeah, formulary. We went through everything. Morphine, fentanyl patches. Didn't do shit. Hydrocodone, hydromorphone. Then we went to oxymorphone, and that actually did something good. But oxymorphone's even stronger than OxyContin. So I was on, I think, 40 milligrams of oxymorphone twice a day. And then 8 Tramadol. And then 2-3 muscle relaxers through the day, and 2-3 clonazepam for anxiety. And you start mixing opiates, benzos, and muscle relaxers. They call that the Trinity. It's the people that are trying to kick, and they're on with the methadone. They try to add in a benzo to try and catch a heroin nut, and this way it's kind of like almost free. Here's what's fucked up. You want to know what's fucked up? You know what's fucked up? It's totally fucked up. This is completely asinine and fucking fucked up. Had I been on the streets, that would have been a huge, years, 4 or 5 years at least. It was 2012 when I started, and it was like 2018, 2019. Yeah, going into 2019 because COVID hadn't hit when I quit. But I had a feeling that it was going to be harder to get. I don't know why. I just had a feeling it was going to be hard to get. On top of that, I was starting to get out of control, being completely honest. And I was like, I was gonna die. So I decided to head that off in the past. Just knock that shit out and just get it out of there. So I quit. I quit all of it, minus the Tramadol because I have serotonin issues. Another issue there sometime. Yeah, man. There's the map. Love it. Oh, shit. Boom. There's Dunia. Ooh, nope. Don't do that. There we go. So this is the hand-drawn map of Unia. Here is the Northic region, and that's Milta, the Northic people up there. And there's a whole like this mountain chain right here behind there, and they put their backs to it so that way they can't be taken from behind. And this chain joins into this mountain chain, which comes down here. This is known as Tulak Mimna, or the Hollow Mountain. The dwarves lived there, and they just basically they hollowed it out. Man, they were digging for so long, and their numbers were so big that eventually they dug too far up. They thought they were lower than they were. They dug too far up, and the roof collapsed. And when that collapsed, it started a bunch of shit, which yeah, I don't want to get too into it. So, and then you got the Marprin Mountains here. That's Porgdin's Folly. And see if we can zoom in a little bit. Okay. Yeah, Porgdin's Folly, Salacious Solace, the Twice Great Maw. Got Varen, Sordin, Argus, Fortune's Fountains, again, Tulak Mimna, the Hollow Mountain, Northic region, Chassis's Last Chance. The people of Milta the Northic region are very, I won't say proper. They're very by the bookish, and so they very frown on magic up there, unless it's like very simple stuff like clerics. Clerics use magic to heal, and they're fine with that. But like fire and shit, they're like, no, fuck you, Other than that, they're mostly fighters, and because where Tulak Mimna is, when it collapsed, some went to Bethrin. This were the Bethriel Mountains. These are the Bethriel Mountains that go into here. Now, as time went on, Milta absorbed some dwarvish people, and so they're not. It's in there, so they have a similar kind of accent. Kind of like if you imagine like these guys kind of have like a strong Scottish, and this kind of more like an Irish. It's similar, but it's that kind of thing with a bit of British. It's not. They got a lot of that type of thing. They go like that. Especially in the this would be called the Drala Valley, between these mountains here. Draughlugh. Now it's the Drala because neither one of the people, they don't know if it's Dwarvish or if it's whatever. There's no word for that, the Drala. Now up in Milta, in that area, AGH would be UF, instead of Drala. And for the dwarves, it would be low. So either one, you say tomato, I say tomato, Drala or the Draluf Valley. Either accepted, but most people call it the Drala Valley because it's closer to the dwarves, where the dwarves lived. And now, this, like I said, this was the Bethriel Mountain chain. This is the Bethriel Mountain chain. Actually, no, this is the Bethriel Mountain chain. This was the Butriel Mountain. This was originally called Butriel, and this was the Butriel Mountain range. And Milta, the people there have, because it's kind of a breeding of the two, their term for Butriel was the word for home inside the mountain, inside the hill, and they had another word, Bethrin, which means home amongst the hills. You see how that came? Yeah, so when they moved from the Bethriel Mountains, they moved here. They weren't called, from the Butriel Mountains. They moved to the Bethriel Mountains. They weren't called that. They're called something else. Dwarves fucking win. They win. They have more resources. They have more power. They're more unified. They believe in progression of the dwarvish people. They don't fucking whatever it takes, as opposed to like who gets credit. They don't care. They don't care, but they're willing to work together. You know what I mean? For the greater good. So they always win, as opposed to armies that are like, well, what do we get? Whatever. So Not to mention their entire job, pretty much all day, is swinging a fucking pickaxe. When they're not chopping people up, they're swinging a fucking pickaxe breaking rock all day. That's why they're shorter, because they're underground all day. They're digging all day, and by being shorter, they don't have to make that things as big. They start doing that later, which causes the fucking collapse of the Hollow Mountain. Because they try and make it too big, because they're like, I mean, even though they're small, they want to make it grand. You know what I mean? And they end up suffering. Then down here, you got the Mournful Mount. The king at the time of migration from here, they were moving, and they got somewhere around here, and he died. But it was technically, it was his father's plan. And he was just following the plan. It was a long plan, extended path. I mean, it was going to keep going for the building, and everything was prosperous until he came on, and he just took up his dad's plan and kept going, and his dad didn't realize how fucking far they'd gone up. So when it collapses, what did you do, fuckface? You know, basically. So that's kind of like they normally bury the bodies at the top of the mountain, overlooking the kingdom, and the cold temperature up there preserves the bodies. They case the body in stone, and it preserves the body. They did that with him, but they put him down here at the Mournful Mount because, one, it kept the fort at the bottom down here, and to keep anybody from approaching. And then they have the like right here in this nice little nestled area for protection. And yeah, they also have a place to place their blame. I mean, it's not his fault or whatever, but like we would still be over there prosperous as fuck. But and they know that's not true, so they still married him, and they gave him at least a decent burial. They didn't disgrace him. They buried him at the mountaintop of that peak of the Mournful Mount. It's not like a high peak, and definitely wasn't overlooking Bethrin. So that's on the continent, of course, of Jessel there. There's Venel's Demise, the Feltry, Galen. There's the Galton Maw, which leads down to Galton. Here's Galton, the Cape of Regret, because Galton, the founder of this, he wanted to start his own Argus of the West. Because there's a whole story there. I mean, if you read the books, you get to know that. But too far west. Galen wanted to settle here and bridge and use this as to bridge the gap. Galton wanted to be. He's like, no, Argus is on the coast. I want to be on the coast. They found salt water, and they thought they went back far enough. It wasn't far enough. And so this originally, the Cape of Regret was over here because there's nothing that they knew of. Like past that, they don't know if anything else being out there. Boundless depths, again, that goes that way forever as far as they know. And the endless northern waters, again. The Dremna Sea, this is where Farshore is. The orcs live here. And all pretty much goblins, there's something about the place that just kind of like draws them in, but it doesn't keep them there. They launch attacks from here into Jessel, into whatever, which then they can move over. There's not a lot of people because of the possibility of attacks. In this area here, there's the citadels of Jessel. He hasn't been there, but they're in this. They're nestled in this area, and yeah. There's a whole other reason why they call this the Cape of Regret, because they moved it over here because Galton made a mistake. There's a reason why they put it here, though. The Dremna Sea. Now, there are some orcs that are more civilized and can live with humans without fighting, whatever, and they've taken to calling them Dremna rather than orc. Because orcs are considered savage, and they're like, no, you're not an orc. You're something else. Dremna. And so, okay. Everwide Forest, it says that right there, and it goes all over here. There is the Foot Trace Plateaus. I should have put something in there to mark that, but I forgot to. The Everwide Forest actually goes, although you don't see it, it's covering all of this. there's a bog over here, and then there's the Ossian quagmire down here. Um, and then this is still more forest. This is all forest around in this area because the elves lived here in Vaja. Um, this is Thurston, and it's right there in the middle between there's like the swampy bogs over in this area, and that are called by the boundless depths and over in this area. And then Thurston's like right on the edge between like the jungle, and it's a weird fucking area, and that's where mostly like a lot of like mercenaries and bounty hunters and shit, just kind of scummy fucking people that are they live together. They don't have any problem with each other. It's kind of like a town for them to hang out when they're not doing their shit that people really don't like them for. Um, and this is the Underwoods. This is Tershurn, a little city just on the outskirts of the Underwoods. And of course, that's where the story from the Underwoods is going to take place. Well, all this area right here. But I mean, it does go to a pre. This is second era. The Underwoods take place in the first era. I wish I had a map up here because it just shows like these maws. The reason they're called maws is because they had rivers. That these were war rivers about the size of the Congo, about 30 miles wide. And then after the end of the first era, they doubled in size. And so if that was a river, what the fuck is this? It's a gaping maw. It's 60 miles wide now. It's no fucking river. It's not a fucking river. These were the size of the Congo. You know what I mean? These are the size of what it used to be before it ripped open. And they're same with this. These are all small. This was the Great North River. When everything settled, they came and checked checking everything out. It was still the largest one. So it's the twice great. So, Phason's Ocean, you got Burl, and then you have Beryl. The Resin Isles pirates live out that area. The Bygone Sea, that's again because of the events of the end of the first era, created the Bygone Sea. This is Creed and Therawell. This is home of the Teln, the Wood Elves. Vaja is home of the High Elves, or the Dane. And so yeah, there's a whole lot to start. Okay, Winch. This is the continent. Like I said, the last story in the 4 core Union tales is it came and went, and went, Wynte. It came and went. There's a whole reason for that and everything. And again, there's another reason why it's the last story. And there's a reason why it's only about 45,000 words. It's not a big long story. It's not supposed to be. It's kind of, and still, there you go. I'm just gonna tie it off there. Now you know everything you need to know about Unia. Not a trilogy. I'm planning 4. Oh, as far as other stories, this goes from the 0 era into the first era into the second era. And then once the third era hits, then the eras start becoming more like, the third era is more like a medieval time. And then it starts mirroring kind of like our timeline. There's the different eras. They progression the way humans did. A lot of the magic falls away. Pretty much all the magic falls away, and the orcs and all the weird shit, the Dungeons and Dragons kind of shit, kind of gets wiped out, going into the 3rd and 4th era. After that, like the Victorian era. That'd be like, the 10th era, 11th era, 12th. You know what I mean? It keeps doing that. So like there's Victorian, then there's like a 60s era type thing where they would last longer than just the 60s to 70s, not 10 years. It's an era where that kind of shit is going. So you may have like a whole thing with the way they thought the future was going to go. And then doesn't have to end in tragedy, but things change. A new discovery. I wanted to do like I said, this whole thing of doing Unia on Earth. I wanted to have it a place where it wouldn't bump up against our history. And so this way I can do stuff like, instead of Thomas Edison, the fucking thief and patent fucking whatever, Nikola Tesla wins. What happens then? Everything's wireless from back in Nikola Tesla's day, including energy. There's no need for a battery when your handheld device just has a receiver for energy and it's coming from the sky and you just get it on your fucking thing. Who needs a fucking battery ever? Nothing ever goes dead. That's what Nikola Tesla saw, and he saw it being free so that it could end war, because everybody's fighting for power. And what they do, the people that wanted power fought him. Oh, we still use a lot of his inventions. Oh, yeah. Oh, we still use a lot of his inventions without giving him any fucking credit. They actually have, in more disgrace, have given some of his inventions. We're not talking about that. We're talking about other things. So, back here in Unia, when things go right instead of wrong. Yeah. I could set things right in this world, you know. I mean, I can do things that are and you can't do there. And yeah, I was writing the story. I was talking about Mornington. Let's go ahead and zoom in if I can. I don't know if it's gonna be even big enough to see. Yeah, there's Mornington right there. I don't know if you can see that little dot. That's the town he starts in. It's God, I wish I had like a camp layout. Actually, I do somewhere. It was so weird. I had already written the story. The video was up and everything. And we went for the family reunion, which is at a YMCA. And I was staying in the cabin, you know, that I had there. And it was like the second day being there. I walked out of the front door and started walking down there's like a bunch of cabins going down to like the main building. There's several main buildings and whatever. And as I was heading down there, I stopped like by the third house. And I looked. Like, if you made these like fucking thatched roofs and the style of housing that I have, this is Mornington. It's mirror image. It's like if you'd have to like flip it, because like instead of going that way, it should be going that way in my head. What I had. So like instead of going around the lake, the thing started going around the lake this way. Where the like we're staying on, where it should have gone for it should have been over here going that way, it was fucking weird. Aside from that, everything was where it should be. The market square was where it should be. The open fucking everything was where it should be. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. High row and low row, which of course is, you know, the rich part and versus the poor part. They were there, the hills and everything. It was fucking insane. It was fucking insane. I'd never been to this fucking place before. It was fucking insane. So, I mean, it was sitting on a lot of land and everything. I actually went, I did some walking around. I filmed and walked around because I want to have like when I'm writing up the other books. If I get to where I'm like they're traveling, I've got a lot of like me just for an hour. I just walked through the woods. I didn't say shit. I didn't say anything. But at one point in time, there was something that was just coming over me to say. It was just nagging at me. He's like, say it, say it, say it. I'm like, I'm trying to be quiet. He's like, say it. So I said it. It was something 40 similarities in the woods. I don't remember what it was. Something like that. I don't know what it meant, but I just felt the need to say it, and so it got recorded. It was something like that, and I just kept on walking, you know what I mean, and recording and stuff. I found like these little fucking buildings and shit out there. It was so cool because I'm allowed to, like, I'm letting myself just dream about stuff. And I'm just walking and filming. And I had my guitar on my back. And then I had like a bunch of pot in my pocket in these things. So it was like clank, clank. As I'm walking, like I had like pots and shit, and then I had like this guitar on my back, like I had a bunch of stuff, like I was actually traveling. I got so into it. It was fucking crazy. I came up with new creatures. I came up with all kinds of it was awesome. It was really cool. So yeah, I highly encourage, as far as writing, I highly encourage anyone who's going to go into writing to try and figure out who the fuck you are. You want to make sure the characters have voices. You want to make sure that your voice is heard in whatever way you want the narrator or however you want it. Mine, I wrote this one in first person, and I think that's pretty cool. So I didn't put in chapters. I did put this. There's parts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and a couple people tried to get into it, and it's a long read and or watch. It's a 10-hour watch. If you want to get the whole story, you can just read, watch, or listen to parts 1 and 5, and you'll have the whole story of The Robber and the Thief. But if you want more, and that's kind of what I was talking about, the information drop, which led me to a pretty cool epiphany, and which is that people are pretty unpleasable, which you can then bank on to try to help to please them. Like, I was checking out several things, and they're saying how the information drop is hated. Like, I've built this whole Unia in my head, and I've got days worth of fucking descriptions of like Argus, and you saw I was just going through there, and I was just skimming. Oh, I've got it well. I just have to write it down. Oh, it's well thought out. From there all the way to the third millennium. That's how far I've thought that one out. From the Zero era, 2 eras before this, all the way to the fucking 1,000 years from now. That's how far I've thought of it. So yeah, it's pretty in depth, But if you tell all that shit, it's called an information drop. Because I have, like, if I was sitting there just going on and on and on and on and on and on and on about Mornington, if I was going on and on and on and on about Argus or the bodies of water, any of that shit, people fucking hate it. But if you underdescribe it, people hate that. Because they don't want to use too much of their imagination or have to think too much. So you have to do somewhere between an information drop and not giving enough. And the fucked up thing is, they want more. When you don't give them the information drop. Well, what about that? You know what I mean? But they have the questions. That's the difference. They have the questions. You're not answering the question before they even ask it. Even though that's quite more efficient. I guess you seem like a smarty pants when you answer the question. I know what you're thinking, and no. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like I said, if you describe too much, you're going on too long. If you don't describe enough, You didn't give me enough to work with. And if you give them the right amount, they want to know more. So like I said, you can plan on that. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Oh, do you? Okay. No, I got you. It's neither an information drop nor is it not an information drop. That's how you please people. They want it both ways. Let them have it. Give it to them. Why not? That's your badass. No? Can't do it? Can I try? So, when you're writing, there's two ways to. I'm sure there's more, but there are two ways that I use to make characters. Having played Dungeons and Dragons, I'm familiar with the character sheet. I don't know if you guys are or not. But if not, look it up because it's really cool. And that way, I mean, especially when you start making your own character for your own story, for your own purposes, it's really cool. But there are a lot of questions that you will probably gloss over and not answer, especially if you have to make a lot of them from scratch. Any allergies? Any scars? Predispositions to liking what? Favorite flavor? Color? Smell? The more of those you have, the more real the character is. Because we really have those. The other way is to use a pre-rolled character. You have an idea what the character you want, and then you cast someone you know in that role. You see what I'm saying? Not as themselves, as your character. How would they play your character? And then you can find out actually how well you know your friends. Right? What are they allergic to? What's their favorite color? Or their eye color? See? Are you sure you're a friend or are you not? It's okay if you're not a friend. But don't call yourself one if you're not a friend. And sure as fuck don't call yourself a bro if you're not gonna fucking know. You gotta know, bro. Come on. You can't call yourself a bro and you don't know? Come on. Come on, bro. Oh my god, I love the fact that if I die in some kind of fucking unforeseen car wreck or accident, my bro's gonna get one last call from me. Yeah, we have some bad news. Your boyfriend's dead. That's what you're listed as in his phone. You're not his boyfriend? Okay. Like, I don't know what's going on. Did he? I don't know. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just curious as to what the fuck's going on. Like I said, I'll be dead. He's the one that has to explain all the messages on my phone. All the messages I've sent him combined. If you can't do that kind of shit with your friends, they're not good friends. They're not real friends. I'm sorry. If you can't do that kind of shit, if you're not fucking doing that kind of shit with your friends, you're not a real friend, and or they're not real friends because you're not thinking of this kind of shit to do to make them laugh one last time when you die. If I go out, this is gonna be so fucking awesome. I already told him too. It's like, yeah, dude. So just prepared. But yeah, so you can take that person and then cast them eye color, whatever. Look at it more of like you're shooting a movie, and you want your friend to be in the movie, but as a character, right? You don't want them to go out and be, but as a character, their character happens to share some, so that way it's not too hard for them to act. Share some similar qualities. You might need to change a few things to match the character you need. But those little small things, alert you to. That way they're a fully fleshed out person. The characters become 3D. When you go to write for them, you know how that person thinks and talks, so you're not going to be talking like yourself, right? When you go to write for them, you can almost hear their voice. That way you can write it down. And that way the audience can then hear the voice. It sounds like two different people. It sounds like a conversation. Rather than like, should we go over there? I think we should go over there. Well, what would happen then? I don't know what would happen. Yeah, I mean, it's not. There's interruptions. Dude, how the fuck? Dude, let me finish what I'm trying to say. Why would, but you're not. What the fuck, man? Some of the conversations don't go like that. What the fuck, man? Dude, you can't just look at you. Fucking look. Go look in the fucking. God damn, dude. The fuck? They're not all nice and sweet and fucking, everyone gets all the things they have to say out. Do they? Everyone has time to speak. There's breathing time between the jokes. You know what I mean? There's not always. So, the more you write like reality, the more it'll feel like reality. The more you pay attention you pay to reality, the more you can add to your book. The more you can add to your story. When you want to make something different, you want to make a weird tree. How do you do that? How do you make a weird tree? You start with a tree. Then you make it weird. Let's get weird with it, baby. I came up last night with a creature called a Bruna. Kind of like a snow leopard. Completely white. They are hunted by the humans. But where they live at, during the summer months, you can see them. They're white as fuck. But they don't hibernate during the wintertime. What comes around in the wintertime? Snow. So what you think is a snowdrift. Because they're being hunted at. They're, if you can imagine pack cats. Big pack cats. Size of a wolf. That if one learns a trick and the others see it, they all know it. They're that smart. You know how cats are in your house. If one jumps up on the top of the thing and gets a treat, the other ones are right. Poop, poop, poop. Same thing. So the Bruna were being hunted, and in the winter they were sitting there, and one was out in front of a home eating, and someone comes out of their house and doesn't see it because it's snow, and then it says and of course that thing's like oh wait, you didn't see me, and they were getting hunted, and they kind of like sitting there waiting for the end, and they just run by, don't see, like, oh shit, you don't see us, and then pounce. And as soon as that one guy saw that, like, they just tucked down into the snow, they walked by, ha, Bruna. So you got this pack of wolf-sized cats that are fucking smart as shit. In the summertime, doesn't even come from a mile away. During the wintertime, carry a stick and poke that goddamn snowdrift. Or just stay the fucking side. Just stay the fucking side, man. Walk outside, you see a snow pile, just stay the fucking side. But yeah, so I thought it was pretty cool that mine. I did mine in a fantasy, but not in a British tune. None of that. In fact, he kind of mocks it later because there's a king, and only like really regal, stately people have that kind of accent. It's more of a proper, like that kind of stately, you don't use foul language and things. No, never. We'd never debase ourselves that far. So yeah, and then there's all kinds of like, question marks. And since we don't like information drops, leave them. Interrupt yourself. Mid information drop. You know what? That's not really important. And just go on to the next thing. Especially like with mine. I ramble on sometimes, sorry. Just go on to the next thing. And that's not the information drop, not information drop either. But yeah, don't be afraid to interrupt yourself when you're telling a story, when you're writing poetry. It doesn't all have to make sense. At least not on first appearance. You kind of need to have this. A lot of times you have to have the cipher. And if you have the cipher, you can understand it all. And that's, it's. Sometimes they're written with the cipher per song. Other times, if you know how the person thinks, they have a tendency to write a certain way. And so they do that. You can figure out what they mean. Even though it sounds like nonsense, if you actually get into their mindset, it makes sense. Smart motherfuckers look like crazy motherfuckers to dumb motherfuckers. I believe is the quote. This makes me laugh. I have a preset on my amp thing. It's called Chunky Butt. Because the the amp is called the Chunk. Is it a heavy kind of, and I know I was playing it, and it's like, that's got a chunky butt. The bottom end, that chunky butt. Yeah. So I mean, you got you know, as far as storytelling, like I said, don't be afraid to interrupt yourself. Don't be afraid to tell too much, but don't be afraid to hold back some information, add some mystery. Understand that it means a crap ton to you, but it also gives you a chance to do like I'm doing and gush over your own stuff. Okay, this is to let me know over here. You know what I mean? So like on the side, when if you do like a book signing, if you've already written it all down, there's nothing to talk about, is there? Okay, so in part four, uh, hang on, let me pull it up. You can pull up the tablet. Yep. Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. And you gotta read it out like that. Yeah. Okay. What about it? Actually, no. Go back to part three. There. All right. Cool. Oh shit. Yeah. Gotta pay attention to all the little fucking details. But you also gotta know which ones to pay attention to. Which ones are distractions? Which ones are red herrings? Which ones are whatever? Which ones are trying to make you go this way? Which ones are trying to make you go that way? Why? Why is it trying to make you what's it what? I thought I knew where this was fucking going. The fuck is this going? I wrote the parts to be, like I said, parts one and five to be the whole story because I don't like reading. So if anyone wants to be out there and be part of the conversation and get the gist, the Cliff's Notes of The Robber and the Thief, read, listen, or watch parts one and five. The rest is like filler story that's in there. And I admit it. I admit it. It's an info drop. One and five. If you want more information, just open it up. And no, that's not the info drop. If anyone's gonna write cliff notes on my fucking novel, it's gonna be fucking me. I'm gonna write the fucking cliff notes. So make sure you get the right amount of story. What if they miss something? And like I said, the Underwoods will probably be less of a interesting story. I mean, you can't, you don't know, you never know what people think. So I mean, I think it's a good story. It's a story that I wrote long time ago, and I've refined it. The reason, let me just go ahead and. When I was in middle school, I was working on a couple stories, both fantasies, two totally different things. One's called A New Beginning, and if I've talked about this already, I'm sorry. Um, it's in now. It when I wrote it in middle school. It was in the era that it was in a time frame where the king was about to pass and he didn't have a male heir. He did have a daughter, but he didn't think that people would follow her. So his nearest person, his man at arms, had a son, and the king named the son the successor, and he didn't want it. He never wanted it. He didn't want it. He even offers the daughter, like, look, I'll marry you. You'll be queen. You can do whatever you want. We won't actually be married. You know what I mean? But you still have like half the power. If I kick off, you're still the queen. You know what I mean? That kind of shit. And she's like, no, you shouldn't be in there at all. Like, I hear you, but I am. And this is like my offer that I'm making. You can still do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not signing it over. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. We fall in love, cool. You want to go somewhere else, cool. And she's like, nope. The king dies. It's his kingdom, but half the soldiers go with her. Half the people. And it starts a war because she wants her castle. She wants her shit back. The other one was the Underwoods, which has Shuna Mazin. And of course, it's like very early of my writing. And so, of course, you know, he doesn't have any flaws, errors. You know what I mean? He's just he's like a half elf. I'm half black, half white. So I was like, what would that be in that world? Because in that world, it doesn't seem like that would matter as much. It seemed like more like the races. And so, like, you know, like orc, human, you know, whatever. And so that would be the same kind of thing of what I'm kind of experiencing. And it made sense. Like in the in Unia, there was that kind of separation of the humans earlier on, until they ran into the Dane, the High Elves, who were trying to. They're like breeding and spreading and breeding and spreading and breeding and spreading, and they're trying to tell them like how to live within natural ways and stuff. Even taught them some like you know, natural magic, like how to heal and things like that. And they went back then. The Argus was a lot smaller, still big but a lot smaller. And the only thing they really came back with was, okay, they're strong, they're unified. There's the High Elves, and there's the Wood Elves, and they aren't fighting each other. So together they outnumber us, and their technology is better. And oh yeah, they have fucking magic. So this whole race, like you're the wrong color, that stops today. That stops. Because we're human. So we're together. And it does, it stops. But now it's like, you know, they've unified in another enemy. Which is just really trying to tell them, like, stop fucking. Just live within nature, you know? You guys are fighting it. You guys are destroying it. You guys are just. You can live with it, not against it. Okay, these guys are preachy as fuck. They want us to not be. And they're unified. Oh, there's a whole continent down there. Creed. Yeah. They have a whole city called Vaja in the fucking woods over there. It's made out of the fucking woods. You can, I mean, it looks just like a regular forest, but it is a town. I mean, they got like fucking cities built into the trees. Big ass, thick ass trees. On Creed, they have Tesla trees. And that's because I was out in California, and I remember the redwoods. I actually went to Sequoia Elementary School, and tried to bring that into this world, but bigger, even bigger. I needed a tree that was going to be big enough to support shit hanging on it, cities, you know what I mean, within them. And or be chopped up a bit, and it can live inside of them. Like they hollow out the inside, and it's got different floors. They have magic. They heal the fucking thing, so that it keeps living. You know what I mean? Although they chop it, they heal, and the circulation keeps going. The tree is temporarily wounded, but now you just have like a thing inside of it. You know what I mean? That just moves around the deal. Has a little hole to go inside, and this waters and shit still goes up around the sides, so they don't die. The trees don't die. Don't get even though they get somewhat hollowed out, not completely. And I remember seeing the sequoias, the fucking tunnel cut through them, and cars driving through. It's a big ass fucking tree. That was a big ass fucking tree. The thing about the Underwoods is that it's made up of earthen, Urthen, earthen wood, earthen trees. Um, it's a black, barkless, stone-like wood. Can't be burned. No one's tried to freeze it because they don't have that kind of control, except for magic and stuff like that. But there's Vaj is right there. They don't really do that kind of magic. They do natural magic, light, healing, helpful shit. Nothing that's really destructive. But the Underwoods, Shuna, it's against the rules to breed outside, and Shuna's dad did, and he was one of the higher council. So they're like, what the fuck's it? What's it gonna fucking say? That you guys can't do it, but we can. So they come to the agreement that basically they'll raise him until Shuna's 18, and then he has to go. They don't tell him that both of them have to go. So they kind of like an insult type thing. The Underwoods, nothing really lives there because it's super dense trees, and it's just dark. It's very, very cold in there. It's got purple iridescent leaves, in this black barkless tree, and there's a whole thing there. But it was supposed to be an insult. It turns out to be their biggest fucking mistake ever. So yeah. But that's a little bit gone into in The Robber and the Thief because, he is a half elf. But again, the Shuna that I had written back in the day was more like I said, he didn't have the flaws of a human characteristics, And, but like I said, my understanding was very small back then as far as making characters. I was just writing stories and stuff. There's more like the plots. I was more working on the plot than the character development, if that makes sense. The plot was the important part to me. I wrote one, like I said, it made it into my short stories that I got accused of stealing. People they just didn't believe that I wrote it. It was fun. I don't care. That made me happy as fuck. I don't care. It's kind of like when I got accused of lip syncing for the talent show the second time. But it's kind of with Shuna. It's kind of that way with our martyrs, if you will. MLK, Gandhi, just all the people that we think are really, really great. Turns out they're, like Malcolm Reynolds said, turns out that any person who's had a statue made of them was some kind of bastard or another. But we need MLK to be not human. We need Kurt to be not human. We need these people to be not human so that way we can strive to achieve more than what we have. Someone who can show us that it's possible. But then when we fail, it's because they're more than human. See? A rock god. If you were to ask them, they probably don't mind having the title, depending on their ego. But You'd probably be surprised at how not really all that complicated a lot of it is. If you start thinking in terms of path of least resistance and the fact that the audience doesn't really understand how most instruments work, you're halfway there. For example, like I didn't understand that just because you're hearing lots of notes does not mean the fingers are moving fast. Let's give an example if you can hear this. See how much faster it sounds? For every one note, you're playing 2 or 3. Dang, you barely see his fingers moving. This is the one you should be watching. Up and down the strings. You get focus where you can and you move strings fast. You know what I mean? So you just left, right, and you just work on that shit. There are people it's about my speed. Constant that can do. That's slow compared to what a lot of people can do. Because they have like a doot, 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 and they find whatever speed they can do. Whether it's this one. And they just sit there until they can get it. There's no speed up or slow down. It's just on. No extra force. Like no, it's equal force, and then they control how hard that you know what I mean, how hard they hit it, how intense they strum versus, you know, to increase the note sound, how loud. They work on dynamics as a totally separate thing to the speed of this hand. They get this hand going fast first. Then they start working on going quiet. And then going loud. And then going quiet. Because they've already got the speed down at regular medium. Now they got to do it soft enough. And then hard enough. Almost all solos that you've ever heard on guitar, just in the pentatonic scale. The ones that people like. Now there are a lot of guitars like Steve Vai and shit that oh yeah, they are truly. I thought that thing was moving. I thought I slid off. Fuck, that scared the shit out of me. It's glass. I don't know why I thought it was moving. Oh yeah, I don't even remember why I thought it was moving. So yeah, don't be afraid to interrupt yourself. You just won't get back to the fact. You know what I mean? Just don't get back to it. Move on to the next thing. Just accept it and move on. Dear God, Always Sunny was so bad when I started watching it that I never watched it. I really hate stuff that people make a big stink about. I don't know why. I don't usually, because most of the time by the time I get to it, it's like, yep, that's why I avoided it. Because it's shit. But Always Sunny, I just avoided. Because it seemed like one of those. And I really didn't spend much time thinking about it or anything like that. At all. Like what was it about or anything like that. It's just. And then I started watching the series. And Dear God, they're horrible. I had to take it in like 2 or 3 episodes at a time. It was so bad. It's like, oh God, okay, yeah, I gotta go watch something like a palate cleanser for a little bit, like Last Man on Earth. I like that. I'm not saying like this is the epitome of whatever, but I'm just saying it's. I like Breaking Bad. I like a lot of stuff, but it's just. I don't know why people are trying to push the envelope of how shitty the characters can be. I guess just like the problem is that you end up with a situation like Always Sunny where you can have because there's no laugh track, and I get why, I understand it, but they have to understand that people can be at home watching that shit unironically, and the way they act, it can blur the lines of whether you guys are good actors. That's why it's hard to tell. I mean, I get the joke, but if you're being serious, that's kind of fucked up. You know what I mean? That's how I was the whole time I was watching. I was like, "This it's funny. I get it." But if you're serious, it's so fucked up. That's so fucked up. Oh, I get it. It's funny as long as it's a joke. And then like I didn't know why it bothered me and why then after I watched it, the whole series. By the time I was like on the fifth season, I could do like 5 or 6 in a row. But that before it was like 2, 3 in a row. Before I was like, okay, I gotta get a palate cleanser. I built a healthy immunity to it by that time, and by now I've seen it enough times that it doesn't even faze me. I just start with Nightman Cometh. Jesus, that is so genius. The whole thing is so good. The Nightman Cometh is so good. Fuck. Boy's soul. Boy's soul. Charlie Day's face when he is. Oh man, Charlie's a shit. Oh my god. I have my theories on Always Sunny, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to do one on music production because I'm ready to start talking about some of that shit. Have a good day.